Hello and welcome to the Random Pinoy Geek podcast, the show where we geek out to 3 random topics until the timer runs out. I'm your random host JR, and with me are
Elvin,
Freddy.
We're friends and geeks who grew up in the Philippines, and in each episode we hang out and talk about things that are near and dear
to all our little geeky hearts.
But before we start, if you would like to support the show and are a content creator ready to take the next step in your journey, check out episodify.com. They'll help produce and edit any content you're creating. Whether it's audio or video, short form or long form, they do it all. That's episodify.com. You'll notice that it's the same estrogen joke. No. All right. You'll notice I was gonna say lack of femininity, but there's no lack in femininity here.
We are multifaceted men.
Well, but yeah,
that are in touch with both our yin and our yang.
yeah, there's just a lack of sushi,
There's a lack of
not
of
the
sushi.
food.
We're all fully cooked in this episode with our special guest Freddy.
Freddy, the president of Blue Dose Distributors
and the
and founder of Neutral Grounds. So if you are broke,
a gaming institution in the Philippines, Neutral Grounds, and general grandfather, godfather.
whoa,
Yeah, you're
sorry.
making me sound like
I'm
a mob
sorry.
Grand- great grandfather of gaming.
Yeah, I was about to comment in the last episode I was in that how come all our topics became like, retro? Like, is that a jab at my age?
I was thinking, so I was saying we need topics that Freddy can contribute to, and Elvin takes old stuff.
That's my topics. I'm talking about retro.
I was talking about polls, so that's like
Yeah.
gotcha even, right?
Mhm.
So yeah. Anyway, this is totally not an ad. I'm just actually curious. What does Ludos carry? Like everything, or is there like specific?
We carry
brands?
trading card games, of which Magic the Gathering would be the most known
Mhm.
known brand. Which it is really the first trading card game that came out, and is still pretty dominant. And I think in 2023 they finally reached the $1 billion revenue mark for
Mhm.
Magic the Gathering, which made them the biggest brand that Hasbro has, even bigger than Transformers,
Transformers,
My Little Pony, G.I. Joe,
G.I. Joe.
Monopoly.
all of Monopoly. All of these are brands handled by Hasbro. And right
You know
now,
what
Magic the Gathering is their biggest
surprisingly,
brand.
what brand surprised me is not bigger than that they carry Nerf, because I would think Nerf sells more stuff, right? No,
It's 50% of the population because it's targeted towards boys. So
girls can have guns.
girls can have guns, but
Yes.
they
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just spouting off what I read.
It's my because it was just surprising. That's it. But like board game wise,
Board games, we carry games from Asmodee, which is also the biggest
they're the biggest
publisher for board games. But more importantly, we've started publishing our own games designed by Filipino designers.
Mm.
And it's a line we call Larong Atin, which means our games in Filipino. And that's the project I'm really very much into right now. So I'd like to develop the local game designer talent and give them a chance to, develop and showcase their talents.
a platform.
A platform.
Yeah.
is the game where there's a chicken that you fold things. Is that out yet? I saw a demo, but they said it wasn't out.
Oh yeah, that's called
It looked interesting, knowing nothing.
it's called Tayog, and it's not just chickens. It's about birds. That's not yet out. It does have a digital implementation. I think the app is out there, but only available on the Google App Store, not available on the Apple Store. So Tayog is available. You can try it out. There's an app. I don't know if it's. I think you
What
have
does
to pay
tayo
for it.
mean, by the way?
Tayog means the height of your flight.
Mm.
Which, by the way, that I was the one responsible for naming that game. I'm not designing it, but
Just
the
naming
name.
But that's actually also a very cool thing because I think a lot of us, especially those pre-internet kids that grew up, we remember times when we would create games
Mhm.
because we didn't have access to a lot of the games available. And to be fair, we, economically, it wasn't really that viable as kids. One of the things that we did as kids was to really make our own games. And we take games that we have available to us, like a toy or a board game or a sticker, and then we'd make a game from it. And so I think Larong Atin is a good way of sort of reinforcing that thing that we do have, because we make games. It's like part of what we do.
Yeah.
Because we're not satisfied with what we have.
Yep.
So it's really nice.
But
I
it's
did
just that now there's like a million board games.
Yep.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true.
When
Which
I
is
was
not
a
a
kid, I
bad
did a
thing.
lot of that. Like I had like really bad board games, and then I'd
Try
make
to
up
make it
rules for
better.
them. Yeah.
That wasn't our topic.
No,
Again,
just
that wasn't an
introduction.
ad. It's like a random segue because
Yeah.
this is the random Pinoy Geek podcast.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. But no, our topic is also going to be gaming related. And I wanted to talk about war games in general. Wait, is that the right term?
War games.
Miniature war games.
Miniature war
Yeah.
game.
Because
right?
war games
Is
could
a
also
movie in the
include some
1980s.
yeah that movie, but war games is a bit more generic term, which can also
Military exercises
cover-
are war games.
Yeah. That's true, but it also covers board games that are have wars as their
Oh, like Risk.
Yeah.
that's still considered a war game.
Axis and
Axis and Allies.
Yeah, so miniature war games. The main thing why people don't get into it is it's expensive as toot.
Yeah.
And
It's very expensive.
did you play any?
No, I had my toys and then they fought each other. Does that count as war games?
Did you?
Yes,
Did you do that?
that does count as wargaming. I also remember when I was a kid, we had these toys. We call it little plastic toy soldiers, and in Filipino we call it tau-tauhan.
Yeah.
So
Toy
we
soldiers,
played with that,
yeah.
and what can you do with it? So we made up rules.
Yeah.
So we had this toy cannon also, which we would fire it at each other's tau-tauhans, and then we were just like we both had shooting galleries, literally.
Here's the thing. Do you remember?
My rule for that was like our driveway, which is like 1.5 cars wide.
Mhm.
So you litter it with your troops.
Yeah.
You had red, the other one had green, and you throw rocks.
Yeah.
And then you shoot. And then everything is down. And you
Yeah.
hide some of them behind the plants.
Yeah,
And just
yeah.
tell them, no, I'm still alive.
There's a thing in our school. So there were like these long bowling alley like things
Which were what?
with a hole underneath, like
What?
where it's like a bowling. It's like a bowling. It's like a long alleyway with
What were they for?
columns. I don't know, but what
Is
what
where
we
they
did-
got rid of the
I don't know what it was for.
kids.
No, I think it's for like, I guess like you have balls and then you're like,
I do
don't know
have
what it
balls,
is.
yes.
The A balls that you go across. It's like a long board with walls that sort of keep the action within that long corridor. And then at the end of the corridor is like a bucket or like a hole that catches things. And then what we did was we bring our toys to school and then we put our toys there. And then you'd have your haul in. And then there's like a demarcation line in the middle that's his side and your side. And then you put your toys in that area, and then he put his toys in that area. It's an all boys school, that's why we're both he's. And so
I mean,
anyway,
did I tell you about our daughter's newborn clinic,
which
had
that.
You-
They
it had because people gender and what's that sex and gender, right?
sex and gender.
But this was a newborn clinic, so it's like,
Huh?
I mean, okay, I mean,
Yeah, I don't
get it, but
A
I guess
newborn
it's-
would
And
have-
gender should have TBD, right?
yeah,
Which is weird.
Anyway, it was.
Oh,
anyway,
that was for your
going back.
newborn. I thought that was for the dogs.
Oh, you thought it was for the
I
dogs?
thought it was for the
Don't
dogs.
you would have
Like, wow,
made it weird?
That's a very progressive vet. I thought it was for the dog. Because I also had puppies at the time. So no, but this toy. So
Maybe it's because it's not specifically. It's probably a form not specifically for
It's for-
infants.
Yeah,
It's
no,
behind-
it was
might be a generic
it was
patient's form.
neonatal
Huh?
neonatologist, which is newborn.
The form said that. Or
No,
it might be
the
a generic
doctor.
patient's.
I mean,
It might be a generic patient's
She probably
information
got it from
Yeah.
Like a generic thing.
but it was a
Yeah.
baby's form.
The form had a pacifier.
No, it was like
No, I get what you mean.
Yeah.
It had the doctor's thing on top,
no, like it was from a company which made the forms,
like
right?
Abbott or something.
Like whatever, like Avent or something.
Really?
But
Okay.
yeah,
Cystogen.
Susie and Jen. Anyway,
But yeah,
it
so
was like
so that's so anyway, going back to the toy,
to
we'd have our toys there, and then we
They-
use the Holland. And the goal is your unit is eliminated when it's hit enough times with the Holland that it falls to the back.
Oh,
But
is
it's
it
alternating.
done? Like when it falls, like are you able to get it? No.
There are games like that,
Or
but
is it
you don't
done?
have to do it all the time, because when that happens, you can get into fist fights. So generally, and the thing is, the meta advanced of that, where GI Joes were the preferred ones because
Oh,
GI
wow.
Joes could hang by the side of the walls.
Yeah,
So they'd hang by the side of the walls, and so the Hollands would just pass harmlessly below their feet, and that they'd miss the turn.
Do you
That's
do you also
very
call it-
social tautuan.
Yeah,
GI
it's
Joes.
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe. Well, Tao to ones is weak because it's so small and it
Yeah.
gets hit once. But there's smaller ones. Do you remember Mighty Max?
You don't
Or,
get it.
Polly Pocket, the
Yeah.
male version of Polly Pocket. That's a very tiny thing. Or Littlest Pet Shop if you have that.
Oh,
they
so
were
those Pet
small.
Shop, the same company.
They're all the same company because it's
So the meta is either you do something big, so there's a lot of mass,
yes,
or you do something
small.
really small,
It's hard
where
to
it's hard to hit.
But like if you have like what was big then? What was a
The
big
biggest one that I remember seeing was a Dino Riders.
toy? Like the what's the long neck dinosaur with the two eggs?
It's a
That's unfair
Triceratops.
because they had 4 feet, so
Yes.
it would be harder to knock them off.
It's the Triceratops that had a shield.
The shield.
It's just boring. All of the things, all of
Was
the.
that available in the Philippines or did this come from the
Yes,
States?
I know. It was mine.
No, like where did you buy it? Who did your
I
parents
think
buy
it
it?
was sent from the US.
Yeah, I think because only one of my friends had Dino Riders and he had relatives from the States.
Mhm.
So I think it's not available locally.
Yeah, that was a cheap thing. Like the import. I call it my import. My import. Because the rest of my toys are like Ghostbusters. I had a Slimer,
Mhm.
which was Slimer was like my decoy.
Mhm.
You'd waste turns trying to hit Slimer. And if he loses, it's okay because he's Slimer. It's just a little thing, that you buy and then it's gonna fall off. But that was my war game.
Yeah.
Um,
Was it? Do you call it Hollen or Jolens?
I don't remember what
But
it's
what do
called.
you actually call it?
I don't remember. I
Oh,
need
what
to.
do-
They're both acceptable.
Oh, is
You
it?
can call it Holland or Jolens.
Because I call it Jolens, but
Holland is what I. Oh, you're talking about
The marbles.
the marbles. Holland. That's we call it Holland.
that's the actual.
I
term.
think
No, I
Holland
don't-
is
I'm
more
just saying-
commonly used, but I also hear
But it's
Jolene.
Hollen with a J. Still, it's the same spelling. It's just read
Yeah, but
differently.
which
You know, with our Spanish influence, H and J are actually
Yeah.
But
like in
interchangeable.
Nicaragua, where they laugh, they type ja ja ja.
Yeah.
Like, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the war game. But I guess that's
Totally
not the war game
we
we were
wanted
talking
to talk about. But okay.
But what was the war game that you wanted to talk about, JR?
No, war
Yeah.
games in general. Like, well, what's the term? What's right?
Miniatures war game.
Miniature war game. Is
Chess is a war game.
are the clicks games considered miniature war games?
Yes.
By
So-
hit clicks, you mean the hero clicks?
Hero clicks. Hero
Oh,
clicks.
because it's
Mage Knight.
because there's like different clicks other than hero clicks.
Mhm.
That's why it's
Yeah.
it's the click system.
Yeah,
I think is
Mage
the,
Knight.
Yep.
So it's by WizKids. The first one was Mage Knight,
So it was
Mhm.
Mage Knight.
which was good until they released 2.0, which made it suck.
Oh, I didn't know.
Because 2.0 came with, like, when you buy a booster, it came with a card which had like a sword, a shield. So like the point value of your mini, if you give it a sword, it costs more points,
okay.
but it has +1 attack or something like that, which is made it weird.
Hmm.
That's when it started being bad.
But that's kind of like what miniature war games were before. Everything was like written on paper, right?
no, but this wasn't written. Like you actually put the weapon.
Oh,
which
there's
is-
like there's a physical weapon
it's
that you.
made of. It's like a credit card that's pre-cut
I think
to put.
that was the biggest innovation of the click system, was because you didn't actually need a specific sheet of paper
Yeah, it was
to
good.
tell you what the miniature does.
It's just
Everything
there.
is on that clicks dial,
And then
which is
and
you
then
know,
the plus has made it weird.
the very innovative way of changing the game
yeah.
at that time. When Mage Knight came out, it was pre-painted, which is a
Yep.
big barrier
Mm.
for miniature wargaming.
Yeah.
A lot of people do not like painting miniatures, even if actually painting miniatures is not a talent. It is a learned skill.
Mm.
It is-
I can teach anyone how to paint,
Wow.
unless you're like physically impaired or something.
Yeah.
Anyone can learn how to paint miniatures. It's a skill that's even I would say it's closer to. It's not drawing on a blank sheet of paper. It's closer to coloring books.
Coloring book.
Everyone did
books,
coloring
yeah.
books.
It's
Anyone can do coloring books.
Everyone can do it.
Painting miniatures is closer to coloring books than it is to drawing on a blank piece of
Also,
paper.
it doesn't have to be good, right? As long as like there are rules depending on.
Yeah.
So let's talk about one of the current games that we have here, which is Conquest. What are there color rules for armies in Conquest?
Not really.
Just
Only if you're playing with a group that's very anal about it.
but like if it's a official, what do you call the
Official tournament.
Hmm.
I don't think there's a specific rule that everything has to be painted a certain way.
and you don't have
If
to stick to three colors. Or
I
something.
personally, when I run tournaments, I do not require fully painted models.
But some paint. No,
Not really.
if someone
Like,
wants to play with no paint because they just bought the set and they don't have time.
personally, I'm fine with it. As long as it looks like what it's supposed to be, as long as it's at least assembled,
Mm.
and then people can distinguish what it is.
Still in there.
It's runners. The armies of the flat lords. They're just like
Everything's still in the sprue.
They're still in the sprue. They're flat. It's like the army is piled up high.
My point is, as long as it's recognizable and your opponent can distinguish what it is, then you can play with it.
Yeah.
That's my main. That's the minimum I require.
But if there's like a national tournament, do they then? does it
What
become-
what usually happens? There would be a painting score.
Oh, okay. It's part
Or-
of like
And it's like part of your.
Yeah, so you can totally play unpainted. You just can't win the painting competition.
it's and it's nice because you can. And the thing is,
It's
there's
a different hobby.
exactly. It's a completely different hobby, but it's the same hobby.
Mhm.
Same, different.
Yeah.
Eh,
Same.
And I ask this because I want to play the game, but also I have like 30 unmade gun plus in boxes at home, which
Yeah, that's the thing. There is no such thing as pile of shame or backlog. All those things are just it's just potential fun waiting to happen.
Yes, they are potential fun. Potential fun is hasn't happened yet. But speaking of Conquest, we talked about it a little bit before of the pod.
Mhm.
But the fact that they put these fog of war in gameplay is
I actually genuinely am
Yeah,
interested in
that
this.
was that I saw a couple of people play it before. I didn't realize that was not just a turn mechanic. That
Mhm.
was a deployment
That's a
mechanic.
deployment
Mhm.
mechanic.
Because there are turn mechanics. I think what's the Star Wars one?
Shatterpoint.
Shatterpoint is
Mhm.
they have the thing that creates either turns or shatter points, which is like
Mhm.
special events, which is cool. But this one was all I didn't know it was not only a turn mechanic but also deployment.
Yes.
So
And that mechanic is really what drew me to the game because I think it's very unique and it allows a person to think both strategically and tactically
Mhm.
in what unit you want to program as going first, going second, going third. And once you see what's happening on the other side of the table, how your opponent is playing, then you can react. Even if something's already programmed to activate next, you can still decide what you want that unit to do.
yeah, I think
So
it's
it has a game of the generals element
a
where
little
you
bit.
you plan your
you program that
Yeah.
game generals. I thought it's like
no
preset.
you can do
Oh.
whatever you want with that.
Okay.
That's why I was a competitive game of the generals player, and like I had my set which I
Ah.
don't show anyone,
Yeah.
and it's always what I play with.
But I think it's important because we're running out of time, I guess, for this topic.
Or
But
you can
we can proceed. But I think it's important because that's a really cool thing that maybe Freddie could
you
explain.
stole it with your army men.
Sorry, the argument. But what was your could you like tell us about the rule? What was that stacking? Because I don't think all of our
Because
our
stacking
audience.
can mean a million things.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
So what
Mhm.
does it mean? Because
So when I say stacking, you're stacking a deck of cards, which actually don't really do anything as far as the game is concerned. It's basically markers to let you know which unit. So each card will represent what unit's going to activate.
Mhm.
So when you flip that card up, and then at the start of the round, you prearrange that deck, and each card represents one unit. When you flip up that card, that's
Okay,
the
so-
unit you have
So
to
it's
open.
time, but are we continuing with this topic for your topic?
for my topic is sure, we'll continue this with my topic because
Do your
Okay.
food thing later.
I'll do my food thing at a different time.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, our dear listeners, don't worry, this will not be another food discussion because we're going to talk about Conquest.
All right.
Sorry,
We're at stacking.
we're
Yeah.
stacking of,
So
of
when
the rules.
You prearrange how those cards will be stacked. So you're stacking it, and then you flip them one at a time as your turn comes. So when my turn comes, I'll flip up one card, and that tells me which unit I have to move or activate or move into the table.
So it's kind of like in chess.
It's like kind of like initiative is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Mm,
But like in a stack.
Yeah, like in general, it's like saying like if in chess your board is empty and then you
Mhm.
have a pile of cards that tell you a pawn will come out,
yeah,
and then another one, the pawn will now move.
yes,
Such
it's
a
kinda
bad
like that.
example.
It's a bad
but
example,
okay.
but
it's kind of like that.
just to give
It's
that.
kind of like that.
It's not
But does the stack continue after everything's deployed to activate?
Yes, because you still use the cards as when you activate each unit.
Yeah. So after deploying, it becomes initiative,
Mhm.
kinda, which is the interesting part.
But it's your initiative, right? Is it a common pile or is it?
No, it's
you take turns.
we both have a different deck.
Yeah.
So it's my turn. I flip one card of my deck, and then it's your turn. You flip one card of your deck until all our cards are revealed and we have activated all our units. And then the round ends, and then we go through
You
that
stack
again
it.
the
You-
next
you
round.
stack your cards.
stack
You
it
stack it again, however you want. The only reason why there's light, medium, and heavy, it only determines when your unit can come in.
Mhm.
So on turn one, only light units can come in. On turn two, mediums can come in. On turn three, heavies can come in.
What happens when an idiot puts the heavy on turn one?
You cannot. It's not allowed in the game.
But if you accidentally already did,
Like it's you put it.
No,
like
you're
like
not
tournament
supposed to.
tournament rules, you already did.
Do you skip
Like
your
it's already
deployment?
your turn. You're in
Disregard
the
it because
tournament. You
that's
did
not
it.
supposed to be in that deck.
So it like you don't get to play that card anymore.
Not for that turn.
Okay. Yeah. And then do you play another one?
You play the next one because I can't imagine how somebody would.
Allow you.
I think
DQ.
it's not about it's like exactly. It's like
You're
it's
not. You're
punitive.
probably not gonna get DQ'd because
It's
you're
a
not gonna be
disadvantage
allowed
also,
to play that,
not to play the card
Yeah.
on that turn.
and
Yeah.
it's so easy to repair. If somebody makes that mistake, I don't think it's cheating. It's probably somebody just.
That's
put
why
that
I
on by
started with
mistake.
if an idiot does.
So the thing is, when you're running a tournament, gaming tournament, the first assumption is
No one's
You-
cheating.
no one's cheating. You have to assume that they made an honest mistake.
Yeah.
If the same person keeps repeating the same mistake, then that's the only time you escalate the issue. But you give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
Makes
if
sense. Yeah.
lands come back to hand.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh,
Oh, let's not get into that.
into that. But on camera.
What's that cycling lands go back into on camera?
On camera where we're doing the over the
Anyway,
voiceover. Yeah. But for Conquest, I find it interesting. So as you said, it's both tactical and strategic because you program. So when you program, you're literally creating the order of how your troops will come out every turn, and then at the end of every turn, you switch from tactics, which is like the life, to strategy, which is
Yes.
you're planning out how it's.
Yes, you're planning the next turn. But when you're activating the unit, you have to think tactically based on what your opponent has done and what your other units have done.
I like this game.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting.
So we go to the problem. Which
Yeah,
is
this is prohibitive. Well, we'll get to that later. But
Not
let's talk
yet,
about
okay.
mechanics first. Maybe Freddy can use that as his topic. The
Why do you
cost.
think we're actually continuing this?
Well, I think
No,
I think you can
I'd
make this
probably want to change the topic by
Change
then.
the topic.
Right.
like
Yeah,
that,
just
yeah.
continue.
But when it comes to the rules, so essentially you have the first round is really just deploying I guess the light.
Where you
Light
deploy it?
units. Yeah.
No, it's the first
It's
turn.
coming off the
First round is
out-
like,
So when you start round one, there's no units on the table.
Yeah.
And only light units are allowed to come in. And not all your light units. You are sure one light unit will come in, and some light units may or may not come in. And those are the cards that you will activate for that turn. Second round, you can bring in one medium unit for sure, and the other medium units have a chance of coming in.
So aside from your stack, you have other cards.
You bring one card per every unit that you have in your army. And then when it's available for that turn, that's when you put
That's
it
when
on
you
the
can
stack.
put it on
Yeah.
the stack.
so you don't go through the entire pile.
Not at the start. But
Mm.
eventually you will. And then once a unit is removed from the table because your opponent wiped off that unit, then it's removed from your deck.
So your deck becomes smaller in later
Mhm.
rounds, and you
Mhm.
have access to the more powerful units.
I mean,
No,
it doesn't
not
matter later
necessarily.
because you can just.
Because your most powerful unit might be the one that gets
Oh, that's
eliminated.
that too.
Or also, you wanna shoot with the more powerful units first, maybe. Anyway,
Mhm.
so
Yeah, speaking
You'll get
of
into
which,
the fight earlier.
is how does Conquest do like melee versus ranged? How does it solve that problem?
what was that a problem for 40K or
Or other
games?
other games that have like anything that you have shooting. It's not any card
Really?
game. Anytime that you have shooting.
Well,
Mhm.
Mage Knight did a good job of that, but
How did Mage Knight deal with shooting?
like,
'Cause
what's
I remember
the
like the
problem?
mage lords were
Range.
like really strong because they could just shoot people and then they come in and then when
What's the Magus is what you're thinking about?
Yeah.
Because
did they use points to
no. There's a point system, and the Magus had Magic Blast, which allows that guy to shoot through walls.
Yeah.
But no, the thing with because Mage Knight dealt with that by having some abilities that you can only activate on range. So like the Magic Blast is specifically a range attack. So when if you're in base contact, you
Can't use
can't
it.
use Magic Blast.
I think that's the same for most, but the fact that you can do like just magic blasts, anytime that you have range attack, it has a intrinsic benefit versus melee because you don't appear engaged unless there's like a rule. In
No,
it.
but
Yeah.
like they made like the mage units weaker.
In-
physically.
I think mainly the issue is when ranged attacks become too powerful that they dominate the game and everything gets wiped off even before the units engage. The main way that Conquest mitigates that is if you take casualties from ranged attack, you do not take morale tests.
Oh,
And morale tests are a big thing in this game because when you fail morale, you lose additional units.
yeah.
I like how we
They run
didn't
away.
even know what morale tests are, but we're like, oh,
Yeah, I think
because it made sense. I
It
mean,
made sense.
you already know it's something.
so when you're testing for morale, it also kind of makes sense because if somebody's right in your face, you want to run away. If they're like doing really bad stuff to you,
Yeah.
you will run away. If you're still kind of far, you can no, I don't need to run away yet.
Yeah.
So it still kind of makes sense. So that's how they kind of mitigated the effect of ranged in Conquest. So most games are really decided once you get into the thick of things with the melee combat.
That's a big thing because that's morale is like one of the ways that you lose people.
Yep.
It's a
Is
bit
morale
bad.
not in other games?
It is.
It is. It's just not. This is the first time I've heard that a type
Mage
of
doesn't
engagement
do it.
that doesn't have
Mm.
morale tests. Does Conquest aim for more realistic type combat or more arcade type combat?
Arcade is
I'm that's not the right terms, but you know,
I
like
think
Yeah.
it's fantasy themed.
Mhm.
They're not really trying to get to realism. What they're trying to do is they're trying to create a game where
That
you can
doesn't suck.
enjoy it,
yes,
where there's no situation where you deploy your army and then you haven't even taken a turn and then like a third of your army or even worse half your army
Yeah.
is gone before you even take a turn.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very big problem with some games which is avoided with this system.
Is there any other mechanics that
Well,
Conquest introduced that
Well,
is
for
in
the
book?
benefit of people who don't play like your
Board
usual
games.
war game,
Mhm.
what are the mechanics? You have armies. They have life.
Yes. They have well, when you're playing somebody, every unit has a points cost or threat value. And then you both only get to bring the same amount
Mhm.
of force.
Yeah.
So you make it even. So even from that point of view, it's not realistic because in real life,
Yeah.
in actual war, there
China's gonna
is no
beat us.
there's no such thing as we have to bring the same amount of force
There's what do you
just to be honorable.
Yes,
No,
yes, yes.
all historical wars are fought unevenly.
Yeah.
There will be a superior force and an inferior force. Of
Mm.
course, occasionally the inferior force will win,
Yeah.
but that seldom happens. And it usually happens if there's some like freak thing that happens, like bad weather, or there's like
Mm.
just a brilliant general that took the
Yeah.
terrain into
Yeah.
consideration and the other
guys.
general did not.
Yeah.
So things like that.
Well, isn't that represented by the point system? Like the point system is
No,
the one
this is the point. Is just take the
Yeah, the point system makes the game balanced.
Yeah.
Because it for game systems,
Mhm.
for it to be enjoyable, you have to have the feeling that you have a chance to win.
Yeah.
Mm.
You're all
And-
starting.
Most games, you will have a symmetrical starting point.
Yeah.
To make everybody have a fair chance of winning.
Yeah.
When you're designing games, that's an important part of it where you design it for balance. And it's an important part of game design where you also test for balance. So you don't have situations where a game becomes unenjoyable for one side or one player. Things like that are very important.
It sounds like Conquest is really good at adapting all of these lessons learned from all of these other
Mhm.
games, but at the same time creating something that honestly the fog of war element of it is one of the things that really is really interesting about it.
No, but,
And-
but what's the how do units die? Is it like if they take 3 hits or something like that?
Yeah, every unit would have stats. So something that would cost more points would probably have more wounds that it can
Mhm.
take before it's taken out of the board.
Oh,
Let's say
so it's just alive dead, no
Mhm.
like
like
not like the clicks games where they get weaker.
yeah, that's also an interesting thing about the clicks games because they can bring down the stats,
The
of
stats
the
or go up, go
Mhm.
up for some.
yeah. But
Yeah.
most war games, like an infantry unit, it's either there or it's not there.
Oh, even the group of infantry where because I see some people where as the
Mhm.
infantry are dying they actually take out.
Yeah, you should. So you take out like if you have a unit of let's say 12, and then you suffer 3 wounds, you take out 3.
Oh, but their attack is gonna be the same. It doesn't change.
Yeah,
the stat.
it degrades.
Oh, it's also degrades.
Yeah, so when you lose
as a unit,
then
as a unit.
you lose one stand, then you lose attacks
Mm,
because one stand
okay,
represents
okay.
X number of attacks.
And what's the hit system? Is it a D6 for
Yes,
Conquest?
it's D6. And the interesting thing is with Conquest, unlike more traditional war games where you want to roll high, in this game you want to roll low. But this is only becomes a problem if you're used to older systems
No, because if you're
where I have this stat, therefore a higher stat would require me to
Roll high.
allow me to roll lower.
Yeah.
So if I have a 5, then I only need 2 and up. My stat is 5, I need a 2 and up. In Conquest, if you say your stat is 4, you don't need to have that 5 2 3 4 4 3. You don't need that table. What you do is when my stat is 4, that means I can roll 4 and below.
It's
It's much
easier.
more
It's much
yeah, it's much easier.
It's 4
You
to
don't
hit.
need to
essentially.
you don't
right?
need to refer to a table. So that's it. It only becomes a barrier if you're stuck to
the old system.
old way of
Yeah,
thinking.
this is definitely easier because like three to hit.
Yeah.
Mm.
And you don't need to remember a table where you have to cross reference.
Yeah.
Also, if my stat is 3, I need a 4. My stat is 4, I need a 3.
Yeah.
My stat
I
is 5, I
didn't
need
even
a
know
2.
that the other games were. Is that for most other games or
Yes, I think that's.
because one game started it and everyone
Mhm.
else followed?
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you really think about it,
It doesn't make sense.
this actually is more intuitive.
Intuitiveness, I think, is not what they were trying to do with the old chainmail and the thing that Peter Cushing is doing. They're trying for historical accuracy. So tables is like a big thing that they like.
Mhm. Yeah, historical war gamers actually, when they try to create their games or they try to reenact actual battles, so they will have an asymmetric game.
Yeah.
But for historical war gamers, they have a different goal. They're not really trying to. They want to recreate history
how the
Yeah,
and
the
then
situation.
and then do what if scenarios.
Yeah.
Or what if instead of charging here, they did this? What would happen?
Yes.
So they have a very different goal. They're entertaining themselves by doing what
Observe.
ifs.
Yes.
that is what was the one you're talking about.
Mhm.
That's
Yes,
what they
what
were
is-
doing.
they were doing.
Wow.
Yeah, but for miniature wargaming, it's
So
really just like two people who want to kind of play like chess. That's why chess is a symmetric game. Everybody has the exact same pieces. In modern miniature wargaming, you get to choose your pieces, but it's balanced out by the point system.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, we can probably talk about more Conquest
In the future.
in the future
Yeah.
when I start playing
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
when I have time to
So-
think or not.
So for my topic,
So
I'd like to
depends.
ask you guys.
Oh.
You guys are both gamers. So what value has play, the act of playing, what value has it brought to your lives?
Wow, that's
That's
so, deep.
deep.
Elvin,
That's-
go first.
That's so deep. That's not really part of what we do in this podcast. No, seriously though. There's
No,
actually
that is serious.
that's seriously though that there are a lot of things that one of the main things is that that it brings to my life, not just my personal life but professional life actually, is GMing or DMing.
Mhm.
So I DM for my friends for the longest time. I
Mhm.
started DMing when I was a kid for my neighbors, my sister. We played D&D, and I'd run the game because I'm the one that understands the book. I read it, etc. We found that the skills that you have for a DM to prepare games, to facilitate a group of people towards a goal that you're trying to, this is a narrative, translates almost perfectly to training and facilitation.
Mhm.
So teaching, there's a lot of skills, the preparation,
Mhm.
the sort of on the fly nature of GMing that you have to be, the goal of incorporating other people, getting people to join you in the activity that you're doing. These are skills that I learned as a GM or a DM
Mhm.
that translated into that.
I want to do something that's not deep, but this is an actual thing that game. It's not so much value, but it's like a life improvement kinda. Because I used to have what we call here pasma,
Mhm.
where your hands shake and everything when you do everything right. Mine didn't really go away, but like lessened significantly. Not the sweating. The sweating I needed Botox to get rid of,
Mhm.
but like literally I had Botox in my hands, so it doesn't sweat as bad. Anyway,
That's true.
but the shaking I disappeared after I did like painting and making gunpla and stuff like that because of like it required you to have precision.
Mhm.
So I guess that just gave me control. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to do something not as profound, but I have a lot more. But
Mhm.
that I find that interesting.
Yeah, I think the social aspect of the gaming, the particular type of gaming that we're talking about, is really one of the most important positives that the gaming brings to our lives. It's because games are like social lubricants.
Mm.
And even for us right now, we're trying to integrate games into schools
even,
as a form or a way to teach specific topics, like what you said, group dynamics, cooperation, leadership, and basically
thinking.
even introducing specific topics with science and conservation, stuff like that. And it's just a very natural form of learning.
Experiential.
Yeah, it's an experiential learning.
Yeah. And that's really, really
Heavy.
fun. And the really fun thing about experiential learning is that you'll notice a lot of people are actually, when you teach them how to play, they say the same thing, especially if they aren't like, there's certain people that like to read the rules.
Mhm.
They'll read the rules often, but a lot of them will tell you, okay, just let me play and I'll learn the rules to
Mhm.
that. And there's a lot of people like that like to experience it, and that's how they learn. And then when you translate it to other skills, you'll realize that if you learn how to do a game or how to play a game in that manner, then that's also the best way that you learn how to do other skills,
Mhm.
because you want to experience it.
Yes.
So instead of reading about, say, how to program, do programming exercises.
Mhm.
Instead of reading about how to edit, like try to do editing of videos or something. You
Like
experience it,
episode of I'm sorry.
like our friends at episodify.com.
I'm curious though, what's your how do you do it?
How do I do what?
The learning, the game.
I like to read, and then
Like
I
finish reading the
so I read it from start to finish quickly, and then I start playing, and then I go back to reference. That's also the reason why I play Monopoly correctly, and
Mhm.
that's why I played it one time. I was
But the thing is, no one cares.
Yeah.
Play Monopoly
Monopoly correctly.
correctly.
Well, it's a cousin of mine wanted to play Monopoly. It's like, hey, you want to play Monopoly? Okay, I haven't played Monopoly
It's
in
so
so
hard.
long. I read the rules of so long. Okay, let's play it. And we played it. It was
Correctly.
cutthroat.
Yeah.
It was cutthroat. It
The
was
bidding.
cruel in the bidding. And you realize, oh, this was created by a guy that wanted to show you that late stage capitalism is horrible for people, because you start stealing from others and you take from them, and your only interactions with them are in order for you to put them in a position for you to take from them. And this is not something that my 10-year-old
Mhm.
cousin was thinking of when he started.
Monopoly is okay if you play it wrong.
It is.
Where
it
like
is,
you
it
can
is.
you land somewhere, you can build a hotel if you have the money.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
I think that's the most fun way to. It's wrong,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But I think that's the most fun way because it just becomes random.
And that's actually an interesting thing about games, where it has many different goals. There's a game that you were trying to have fun, as our previous topic. You're trying to have fun with a match where both of you have an equal chance of winning, and then you're trying to develop that. And there are others, their goal is not to like win or lose, it's to experience this situation.
Mhm.
The example that we have for Monopoly, where we have a situation where the game creates a commentary on its own, or it's just a fun little.
But
waste
even
of time.
the problem with that is, even if Monopoly does create a commentary on this, like no one cares.
Well, the designer
Designer cared.
yeah,
Clearly,
and
but
some
yeah,
people. There's like
Mhm.
if you remember the story about this game called Train. Have you heard of that?
Train?
Train. The name of the story is name of the game is Train. It was, I believe, a art piece. So essentially, it's a board game. The idea is you're a train conductor, and you're trying to maximize the amount of people that you can fit in your train.
Mm.
Well, when you said art piece, it's just I'm gonna
I
guess
get-
this is really bad.
Yeah. So the rub, the twist is that you discover later on that you're a train conductor in Auschwitz. So
Mhm. Okay.
when that part of the game is revealed, the creator of the art piece says that the players of the game suddenly change tactics from being maximizing their
Mhm. To minimizing.
But having
maximizing
no
their-
one go in.
to try and minimizing the number of people that they have for, because the
But
trains
what's the
will
goal
leave.
of the game?
That's the thing. Some people still continue because they see it's a game. I can separate myself from the concept
Mhm.
of this is
The morality of it.
the morality of it,
Mm.
or like, I'm putting myself in it. Well, other people can't remove themselves from that
Or
situation.
just don't, or just like it's a game.
That's why it's an art piece. That's why it's an art
Mhm.
piece, because they're trying to.
Okay. I mean, that wasn't as bad as what I thought it would
Okay,
be.
okay.
Like being bad a game.
It's like Ticket to Ride Auschwitz edition.
Yes.
Ticket to Ride to Auschwitz. What the? Wow.
Yeah, that's Europe. Europe is completely different. This map of Europe. Why do all of the trains go to one place?
Yeah, but
Sorry, Poland.
an interesting thing with Monopoly is, let's go, dive into that social commentary thing. In that game, actually, you all start symmetrical. Everybody starts with the same amount of money,
Yes.
no property, and by sheer luck of chance, dice,
Yeah.
somebody will get an edge. And
Yes.
the moment that somebody gets an edge, it almost overrides the element of luck.
Yeah.
But
The moment you have that slight advantage, it just piles on.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of the game.
But I think there's also the point that if someone swindles you, even if you're lucky, they can win.
Yeah. If somebody's
in the-
like manipulating the bank's money.
Yeah. The banker advantage. The banker
Or
advantage.
just with the bidding, right?
The
if someone,
The
you
bidding. Yes, the bidding is like when you bid with things that are not in the game. Like, so
or are you allowed technically?
the rules are very vague. So if you say, well, if you do the dishes, you get free parking.
Yeah.
Remember,
I
it's a
guess you
family
can,
game.
technically, yeah.
So
But the thing is with games that simulate things in real life,
Yeah.
I think what a lot of people mistake games as are they're not real simulations.
No.
Yeah.
Like
Even
Monopoly.
the game of life.
Monopoly tries to
I've never played
simulate
that.
something, but it's not. There, or if people think, oh, I'm good at this game, therefore I should be good at this in real life. No,
yeah,
games are a very different form of entertainment. Of course, you use critical thinking.
Yeah.
It trains your brain to think critically,
Yeah.
strategically, tactically.
There
Yeah.
was actually a game that network marketing people used for
Mhm.
this. I think it's the
Acquire?
something magnate.
Oh, business magnate? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
They get I forgot what group this is. It's like is your Uno or
Mhm.
New Skin or whatever, right? But no, it's not any of those. Or
Okay.
I'm not sure. Anyway,
Mhm.
they start with you have a business. They teach you business, like
Mhm.
blah blah blah, and then they end up with okay, here's a game, and then once you're good at it, see you can be good at business. Now, how can you apply that? Here's our starter pack.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's
That was
a
actually
very
That sounds pyramid scheming.
yeah.
I know,
That's,
that's what I
sounds
said.
very good.
Network marketing. I just,
Oh, okay. Network.
So
Okay.
that's one thing I always try to tell people. Not just because you're good at Ticket to Ride, you should operate the mass rail transit. No, those are two different skills.
Yeah.
Of course, there's things that you can carry over.
Yeah.
Like how you train your brain to think critically, to think strategically, but a game that simulates something will
Yeah.
not
It doesn't
actually
mean you're good
Yeah,
at
you're going to
Splendor. You
get
can be
a jeweler,
Jeweler.
right? It's not. It's a very
Yeah.
different thing.
To be fair, though, if there's a games that the mechanics of the game make you
well, Lemonade. Well, that's a computer game, but
Lemonade
Lemonade
Stand.
Tycoon.
Huh?
Yeah.
Lemonade
because
Stand game.
if the skills because if the skills that you need to succeed in the game
Mhm.
is the skills that are you need to succeed in the task.
But that's very rare.
It's very rare. Yes, exactly. It's
even for
almost-
the business magnate game. I don't think.
oh yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Games are, I think, very good for training specific skills.
It's a
But
it's a
when
gaming
it
skill.
comes to real life circumstances,
Mhm.
there's a lot more nuance and a lot more factors that come into play, which cannot be distilled into a
Okay.
30-minute game.
I think the closest that's kind of common is the social deduction games, where
Mhm.
if you're good at social
Reading people.
deduction, reading people,
Yeah.
then that's kind of
The problem with sometimes with social deduction is if you're good at bullying,
Yeah.
then you're good at social deduction games. There's
there is that
there's a
factor.
factor also.
There is that factor. Like the guy who kind of shouts loudest
Mhm.
will get heard more.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's one of the things with social deductions, which is why Blood and the Clock Tower is an interesting social deduction game. But I think a lot of skills are there,
Mhm.
but I don't think we should. I think you really raise a really good point at the end there
Yeah.
that we shouldn't equate skill in the game
Yeah,
into skill in life. Although you can learn life skills in the game.
Mhm. Yep.
it's the I think it's the storytelling aspect of being a storyteller. That's you.
Mhm.
I mean,
Oh, that's a very good topic for maybe some other day.
yeah, like it's if
Why-
you're a storyteller in the game, then you can actually become a good
Yeah.
storyteller in real life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Right,
that's how
the-
you change people's minds
Yeah.
by telling stories.
Yep.
It's
Right.
not facts, it's stories.
Stories, absolutely.
And that's our show. Thanks for listening to the Random Pinoy Geek podcast. This has been JR with Elvin and Freddie. And remember, it's okay to geek out
As long as you know when to stop.